Don't put your D in tight stuff with noodles. I had this flatmate Alan who was from Hong Kong and was very reclusive and quiet. Now, this isn't that odd as, from my experience, lots of international students tend to stick to themselves and don't necessarily mix with Gen Pop, but whatever. So the one unique characteristic of Alan is that he used always to order Chinese takeaways. He would call it frequently and order a lot of it, like boxes stacked on boxes. It was a duck load of food for one person, but Alan was skinny as fuck, so I did wonder what was going on. This was pretty much the only time you would see him, and he would take his food straight back to his room, and that was that. This pattern continued for the first few months, but we stopped seeing Alan. No more takeaway, nothing. Now this didn't raise much suspicion as he was always an enigma, but coming to the end of the semester, a really rancid smell started to engulf the flat hallway. Like this putrid, overwhelming smell. The kind that made you gag, just getting a whiff of it. It was unbearable. And, surprise, the smell was coming from Alan's room. We hoped the smell would eventually clear up, but it got worse. At first, my buddies and I were hesitant to knock on his door as it was pretty awkward to say, "Hey Alan, your room ducking stinks. Please stop," but honestly, it got to the point when it was unbearable to even walk into our flat. So we tried knocking many times but never got any reply. Eventually, we called campus security and complained, and they came with us to open up his door and see what the duck was going on. Some of you might think poor Alan had topped himself, and his body was rotting away right next to us all this time. But the reality was far more ducked up than that. Campus security opened his door, and Alan was nowhere to be found. No belongings, laptop, or anything. However, the room was a ducking tip. There were boxes and boxes of takeaway stacked up in the room. That explains the smell. However, there was also a load of women's tight stuff with noodles on the floor, rotting away with flies all over them. And worst of all, there were holes cut between the legs of the tights. So, Alan was using his takeaway to stuff women's tights with noodles and then fuck them. So, where did Alan go? The university searched for him on their student database but couldn't find him. They then searched for him by his flat room number, and it transpired that the room should not have been occupied at all. Some student was meant to come but turned down their offer last minute. So, in the end, we had no idea who the fuck Alan was.